Let me tell you a story. It's an old one and you probably know it. It's the story about the Chinese farmer and the stallion. But I want to tell it the way that it would land today. Because if the Chinese philosopher Lao Tse would walk into therapy now in 2026, he wouldn't be talking about the farmer and the stallion. He would just lean back and be sitting there very quietly, watching all of us panic. So, here we go. The Chinese farmer and the stallion. A farmer has a horse. That horse runs away, and everyone around him from the village immediately shows up with opinions and quick help. Oh, that's terrible. This is a disaster. How are you going to cope now? And the farmer just says what is good and what is bad. The next day, the stallion comes back with in its wake more wild horses. And everyone from the village rushes in again. Oh, it's amazing! What a gift! This changes everything. And the Chinese farmer just says what is good and what is bad. A couple of days later, his son breaks his leg trying to ride one of the wild horses to tame it. The village rushes in. Oh no, terrible! This is bad! This will cost you everything! You'll lose your livelihood, your farm, and everything. And the Chinese farmer again just responds with what is good and what is bad. A couple of weeks later, war breaks out, and all the young men from the village are taken by the army, except for the son with the broken leg. And sadly, all the boys from the village die in the war. But the son lives. The village again rushes in, but the farmer says, you can guess now what is good and what is bad. So that's the story, and it's usually told as some kind of spiritual wisdom about not judging too quickly, about perspective, about patience. But actually, my dear friend, that is not what interests me. What interests me is what would happen if that Chinese farmer would walk into modern therapy, because for him it would be totally unbearable. The moment the stallion runs away, someone would say, so what does this trigger for you? And another person from the village would already be offering a worksheet. And someone else would say, so let's reframe this. And by day 2, there'd be a method. And by day 3, there would be a plan. And by day 4, someone would gently suggest, have you considered boundaries with the horse? However, no one would say to the Chinese farmer, we don't know yet. And actually, that is the part we today can't tolerate anymore. The not knowing. Sitting with something that hasn't declared itself yet. We are actually incredibly uncomfortable with that. So we rush in with quick fixes, tools, techniques, methods. And not because they're bad, but because they calm us down. They give the feeling that actually something is happening. And my dear friend, in my practice, I see this all the time. People come in exhausted, not dramatic, but just done. And within a minute, they feel, but they also send out pressure, sometimes very subtle, to do something with it. Name it, fix it, handle it differently, respond better. As if the problem is that they haven't reacted skillfully enough yet. As if the stallion hasn't come back on its own sometimes. As if the broken leg actually didn't save a life later. Today we have turned therapy into a place and into labels where everything has to be meaningful immediately and every experience has to be labeled. Every discomfort has to lead somewhere and every moment must be used. But here's the truth. Real life doesn't work like that. I repeat, real life does not work like that. Real life is messy. Things happen out of order. And half of the time, you have no idea what you're dealing with yet. That doesn't mean, my dear friend, that you're failing, and it doesn't mean something that you haven't done yet. It means that the story isn't done. But we don't like unfinished stories, so we reach out for something quick, quickies, quick solutions, quick fixes. A method to calm the anxiety of not knowing, a technique to stop the discomfort of waiting, a fix that promises relief right now. And sometimes it works. But often what it really does is pull the plug too early. We interfere before something can show itself. We start shooting before we know where the target is. And that, my friend, is what the stallion story is really about. Not about wisdom, it is about timing. And timing can't be forced. You can't schedule it, you can't optimize it, you can't speed it up with changing the outcome. You can't speed it up without changing the outcome. And that is the uncomfortable part. Because it means sometimes the most honest thing you can do is nothing. Not because nothing helps, but because doing something now would be dishonest to yourself. And this is where most people get frustrated with therapy. They think, I understand everything. I know I learned what I should do. But when I'm back in real life, none of it shows up when I need it. And that's because insight without timing just stays in the chair. Let me get that back for you. That is because insight without timing just stays in the chair of your session. It doesn't walk with you out of the door into your real life, into your daily day. It doesn't come with you into the supermarket when someone stands too close behind you, breathing in your neck. It doesn't show up at work when one of the manager asks for just one more thing, usually just before you want to head home or through WhatsApp. And that is because the work started too early. That was because before there was ground to stand on. And my real therapy doesn't rush the stallion. It watches, it notices what actually carries before deciding what needs to change. And yes, that is slower. It's also the only way it sticks so that you have it by hand when you are doing your day. Not because it's smarter, but because it respects the order of things. Sometimes the stallion running away is the problem. Sometimes, and I'd say usually, the stallion running away is the beginning of something else. And if you decide too quickly, you'll never know which one it was. So I'll leave you with that thought for now. If that stays with you, you can obviously reach me through direct message, through WhatsApp, and you can read where I stand and how I work on my page. All the details, links you can find here in my show page. So thanks for listening, my dear friends. See you next week.